Hey guys, Htown Wheelhouse here with Locked on Astros, and well, the game didn't go the way that we wanted it to go here in Houston, Texas. The Astros fall after a late inning, semi-valiant effort to come back with a couple home runs, solo shots in the ninth inning that consequently ended the hopes for the Astros to win game two. Check us out on Apple, Google, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. This is Locked on Astros. We're starting now.
Hello and welcome to Locked on Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Heisman and Brett Htown Wheelhouse Chansey.
We are Locked on Houston Astros, and we are your daily Astros podcast. We want you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check us out on Apple, Google, or Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. Tell your smart device to play the podcast Locked on Astros. Remember to use the hashtag First Listen whenever you tweet at us or tweet us or retweet us and make us your first listen of every day. Well, here's the thing. 9-5, the Astros go down, and the series is tied at 1. And a couple things that we will look at today: the pitching problems, the bats that are known to get hot, and what do we do going forward, going to Boston for 3 games. I don't believe the Red Sox have it in them to win 4 games in a row. That's what they would essentially have to do. But the Astros definitely have their work cut out for them. And with Luis Garcia going out early today, that kind of set the tone. The 2 grand slams by the Boston Red Sox seemed to put nails in the coffin early, and the Astros would try to break out of that coffin with a little outburst of 3 runs in the middle of the game. And towards the end, the 2 nice solo shots from Yuli and Jason Castro. But at the end of the day, it wasn't enough. So it was surprising to see Luis Garcia having the troubles he was having. And when you hear words, Carlos Correa is going to the mound to talk to him, that's typically not a good thing. Carlos Correa honed in right away on something that was going on. He talked to Luis. Remember when Jake hit the wall, he didn't want to come out, and Carlos Correa talked some sense into him. And he basically left the game for knee discomfort, and that's why he was pulled from the game early. And this game, just from the onset, just had a feeling that Boston was going to take this game and not give it back. I think the Astros are the team that's left in these playoffs that has the most potent, most dangerous comeback lineup. But the bottom line is this: the game today came down to your 2 guys who came out on the mound first, and some amazing things that I found out today about the starters. The Astros starters, 2 starters, have combined to get only 11 outs. This bullpen is taxed, absolutely taxed. 11 relief pitchers used in these 2 games. A couple shining stars in these relief pitching roles is Blake Taylor and Yimi Garcia, who have done a great job. Now, outside of Odorizzi coming in and giving up the grand slam, you have only 1 run that's been given up by the bullpen, and that's Ryan Presley when he gave up the solo shot, I believe, to Kike, the other day. So this is definitely been a OS moment for the Houston Astros. Now, they may not be panicking, but as a fan base and as people who follow closely with the Houston Astros, you got to wonder, how can they sustain what they have going on right now? Baker, let me say this, because I didn't get to chime in on game 1. Game 1, my son and I got to attend, and let's kind of start with some positive stuff. That game 1 was what you want in the playoffs. You want that kind of beginning to a series. And I talked about momentum about 2 or 3 podcasts ago. Momentum does not go from game to game, period. Boston's not going to have momentum when they get to Boston off of this win. It's just not going to happen. Momentum is an in-game shifter in the moment. It is not a game-to-game shifter. The Astros won 3 in a row against the Rays in 2020 and managed to lose Game 7. Now, they didn't have fans in the stands and all those other variables, but momentum shifted in the Astros' direction in Game 1 and clearly away from the Red Sox, and that's why the Red Sox got beat, because the Astros took that momentum, basically took the bull by the horns, and ran with it. Today, they never really gave themselves a chance for real momentum other than the 3-run outburst, and then after that, they let it go. So, Luis Garcia, he just didn't look good today. 29 pitches and you leave with knee discomfort. That's not good. You hate to see that the starters are not holding up their end of the bargain. Framber Valdez, you needed him. And despite him not being on his game, the Astros still found a way to win. But with this Red Sox lineup and with JD Martinez and Kike Hernandez, who's the hottest person on the planet, he's hitting so good. I joked on Twitter, they got to be doing something. They got to be cheating 2 grand slams in 2 innings. They got to know what's coming. Totally joking. But this was, for all intents and purposes, Larry GM's chiming in here. He says, I think the bullpen will largely be fine. You mean in Game 3? Yes, I think they'll be fine in Game 3, and I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to have to rely on this bullpen. Now, Jose Urquidy is going out in Game 3. I've called all 3 of the first starters in this series, but the starters in the first 2 games have not done their job. Had the starters done their job, had Luis Garcia not had issues with his knee or been placing the ball or been on, this is a game. I mean, they scored 5 runs that they could have easily won. Obviously, you take away the 2 grand slams, and they don't have any runs outside the solo shot. So it could have easily been a 5-1 baseball game. Remember, always positive, always Stros. But when you look at the Astros right now, you look at the relief pitchers in this game. After Odorizzi comes in, Blake Taylor, 1.2 innings pitched, only 1 hit, 3 strikeouts. Yimi Garcia, 1.1 innings pitched, 2 strikeouts, only a walk. And then Stanek comes in, gives up 1 hit in a full inning. So outside of that 4-run grand slam that Odorizzi gave up, there's only been actually 2 single runs surrendered by the bullpen here. And so I really think that we're going to see a masterful performance by Urquidy. Because see, Urquidy, nobody's expecting him to do well. The pressure is now on Boston because they're going back home and they have to get the Astros while they're down. They have to get the Astros while they are down. And so that is where I think this series will swing in Game 3. I think the Astros take the momentum back in the series. And again, it's game to game. I think they jump out early because I believe they're throwing possibly Rodriguez, who is a bag of mixed goods. And the Astros like hitting in Boston. I think you know what we need to do? I think we need to walk Kike Hernandez. How about that? Let's get some support on that. Walk Kike Hernandez. And, that's a good question. I love Martin Maldonado. If you're listening on audio, we appreciate you. We hope that you make the jump at some point to the YouTube channel, subscribe. But Larry the GM asks us a question. He says, what will it take to start Castro? I don't know. I mean, Castro is like, I nicknamed him Jason Clutchstro for his late inning home runs. And who knows what he could do if he would have started the game. You wish I would have started today? You mean pitching? No, you wouldn't want me pitching. There's no way. They would have had like 10 grand slams off me. It would have been 40-0 before the second inning. They would have pulled me after the 20th pitch. You don't want me on the mound. But it does seem like anybody could have done better today. This game was never the Astros game. It was 8-0 going into the third inning. Then it was 9-0. And then the Astros had the outburst in the fourth inning. They scored those 3 runs. You like to see them string along the hits, bring in runners, put runners on base, put them in scoring position, bring them home. But outside of that, they didn't do it. They didn't get runners on in the end. If those two solo shots would have been two-run bombs, we'd be having a different conversation. Hey, what's up, Nolan? How you doing, sir? Thank you for listening. Right here, I'm Heel says we should start Castro Monday because a lefty is on the mound. Castro does need to start if a righty is pitching. Okay, and so that is we have yet to see anything that tells us that Dusty Baker has been outmanaged in this series, and I've got to focus on that right now. I've been very critical of Dusty Baker's managerial moves, his calls to the bullpen, his pulling guys, his lineups, his positioning of lineups, all those things. And the bottom line is this. Dusty Baker has done a masterful job in this series. That game one, I don't think I've seen him manage a better game with the Astros as he did in that game one. Outside of that, I can think of maybe when you had Greinke, who he was going to pull in the ALCS in 2020, and he let him stay in. Dusty Baker did a phenomenal job. And so for all the criticism I give him, I don't ever give him the criticism or any player criticism because I think I know better. It's an armchair quarterback thing. Of course I think these things. I'm not in the game. Of course I would make these moves. I'm not on the hot seat. So it's easy for me to say. But why is Castro, he says, so Wheelbite says to Larry, I think, why? Because Castro is better pinch hitting. Castro does seem to have a fire and more pop when he comes in and pinch hits. I don't know. Maybe you tell Maldi catch 1 through 5, Castro you're 5 through 9. Maybe you do something like that. Mix it up a little bit. But this team at the end of the day is still better than the Boston Red Sox. I think they've caught fire. They've got some special magic pixie dust going on. But I have no idea. Is this series going to go to 6? Is this series going to go to 7? Are the Astros going to figure out their pitching woes in game 3? Someone said, well, maybe this is why Urquidy should have started game 2. See, I disagree. Because if Urquidy starts in game 2 and you lose game 2, then you've got Luis Garcia going on the road. And then that, to me, is more of a loss probability than a win. Urquidy on the road, you saw what he did in 2019. I know it's 2 years ago. But 2019 with the Nationals, he went to Washington, and he pitched his you-know-what off. And so that reminds me, I want y'all to know that this episode is brought to you by Built Bar. Built Bar is the best tasting protein bar in the land. Coconut, raspberry, mint brownie, double chocolate, salted caramel. The sky's the limit, orange strawberry. It is the official protein bar of the USA Track and Field team. They've got the grasshopper cookie, the raspberry, whatever you want. If you're the healthy, conscious guy or girl, you're just looking to lose or maintain weight, remember, 17 to 18 grams of protein, 130 to 180 calories, 4 to 5 grams of sugar, 4 to 5 grams of net carbs, all amazing flavors, all tasty, all healthy. Go to Built.com and use the promo code LOCKS15 for 15% off at Built.com, the best bar in the biz. So here's the deal. The Houston Astros have a series where it is tied 1-1, and we do not know how this series is going to go. I'm thinking the Astros can easily take game 3 with Jose Urquidy on the mound. The relief pitching is holding up, but the starters, the next starter has to go more than 3 innings. He has to go 5 or 6 innings. Is that too much to ask, starting pitchers? Is that too much to ask? Yes, that's right. You got Jason Castro hitting 430-foot bombs, all for naught. That's great. He hit a 430-foot bomb, but we still lost. And that is just so frustrating because after the amazing game 1, I was there. I felt the emotion shift. I saw the momentum shift. It was palatable. Everybody was falling asleep, including yours truly, before Correa connects with that ball. And then Altuve comes in and takes the lead. And the Astros, it's like they're the kings of the world. And then you get to game 2, and baseball happens. And it's so frustrating. I really think that this team will be fired up when they get to Boston. They love playing in Boston. They love hitting in Boston. This team still has swagger. This team still has a beat on things. And I still think that they are the better team. I think Boston is just taking advantage of their opportunities more. The Astros should have had more than 5 runs in game 1. That's the only thing I criticize about game 1. I love singles, but this isn't the club. We're not trying to throw around singles. We need doubles. We need men in scoring position. We need scoring with runners in scoring position. In this game, you didn't have those opportunities, but you managed to score 5 runs. It's so weird. Baseball is so odd like that. It is just for no rhyme or reason. Every game is different. Every day you come to the ballpark, something different happens. We're without Lance McCullers. No telling what's up with Garcia. Here's the only positive is if Garcia is fine, and Garcia does have to pitch again, if he's not hurt, he didn't go that long. He only threw 29 pitches. He can be available to come in if you need him. But we need the Astros to find the magic. We need them to either figure out how to strike out Kike Hernandez or walk his ass. Period. End of story. Walk him. That's what you need to do. Walk the guy. He leads off the game. Walk him. Who cares? That Kike Hernandez, man, he has become the new Astros killer, I would say. But I think this is going to be a tooth and nail series. What do you guys think? I want to know. What do y'all think about this series? Do you think that this series is destined to go 7 games? Friend of the show, Robert Flores, said the other day, this series goes 7 games. And I was like, no, man, it's 5 or 6 tops. But after these first 2, 6 or 7, I have shifted. Like, I still want to stick with my Astros in 5, but I think that's going to be a very, very steep hill to climb. Yes, walk him every time. We need the walk him chance. I was at NLCS Game 5. I was there when Brad Lidge had 2 strikes and 2 outs, 2 batters before Pujols got up. I was there when David Htown got the hit. I was there when everybody's yelling, walk him, and Pujols just crushed that ball. I still remember, like, I have nightmares about that ball hitting the train tracks in the glass because I could hear both. Walk Kike Hernandez. Screw him and his average. I don't care. Walk his butt for sure. So this series, Mr. Corona says this series, it still goes to 6. No more than 6. If we go 7, Astros win. If we go 7, I think the Astros win. But I think the series goes 6 with an Astros win. I like that. The Astros are the better team. And right here, let me get this comment up. David Odom says, Astros are the better team, but when our stinkers have to pitch, we're probably going to lose. Yeah, that's the thing. I hate it for Jake Odorizzi because I heard how noticeably pissed off he was at the fact that the Houston Astros left him off the ALDS, and to come in and get rocked like that. Absolute madness and not good for him and his confidence. It was just one of those things. And so let's look going ahead. Going ahead, we know we have Urquidy in game 3. Game 4, I believe, is more of a bullpen type game. And I'm Heel says, Alex Cora said that he doesn't have a game 4 starter named yet. Well, that's probably good for us. He doesn't know where he's going with this. Christian Javier, look at this guy. This guy's figured it out. This guy looks good. He looks like he's comfortable, and I love to see it. And here's the thing. If you're betting on the Astros or the World Series, or you're betting on football, you need to go to betonline.ag. We're back and better than ever. All eyes are on the gridiron as teams are back on for another football season. As always, BetOnline is your number one spot for all pro and college football action this season. With the new updated site and interface, even more odds, props, and contests, BetOnline continues to be the number one source for everything football. Head to the website for your or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Don't forget to use the promo code Locked On to receive your bonus. From football, basketball, boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casinos games, BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. So let's talk about this. Rodriguez is going in game 3. We have Urquidy going in game 3. I like our chances. And like Rip says, Rip Griffin from the Rip Griffin show, hey, what's up, Rip, says the Red Sox will have a bullpen game at some point, maybe game 4. The Astros are still in it. I believe the Astros are still in this for sure. The Houston Astros have a lot to play for. The Houston Astros have a lot to hope for. And at the end of the day, it comes down to, I think, can their starters who come in the game, even if it's a bullpen game, extend their innings and do the things they need to do in order to bridge that gap? You have someone like Christian Javier, you have Yimi Garcia, you have Stanek, you have Blake Taylor, you have Brooks Raley, you have all these pitchers that are in there that are basically doing what they're supposed to be doing and doing it well. And then at the end of the day, you're like, what is the missing link? And the missing link is this starting pitching. And the bats have got to show up big time. They've got to show up. They can't not show up. They can't not be there. They've got to be ready and awake and willing and able to go at all times. And you saw towards the end of the game, they hit towards the end of the game. They had that little outburst, but it wasn't enough. The Red Sox maximized. Their opportunities. They put men on. They brought them home. And believe it or not, I do not think that Cora has outmanaged Dusty one bit. I think the pitchers have failed. That's the number one thing that I see going on here. And, Matthew Vaughn says this. I wouldn't say he's been trashed, but Matthew Vaughn does say that Yimi Garcia, I'll say, has not been good. Maybe he's fatigued. Most innings pitched of his career. There is something to say about that. There is something to say about these young pitchers going longer and further than they've ever gone. And that is something that I think is a real factor here. I think that's something that has had a negative impact on our results. So any thoughts on Jose Siri? Well, he hasn't played. I think he is a role player at this point. He's a pinch runner. I don't know that I have him in the outfield over Chas McCormick. I think McCormick's bat has proved to be hot. He is a better fielder, I believe. And I like Siri coming off the bench because he provides that spark. He can be that late inning, late scoring, game tying run to come across the plate. And if you've got to put him in the outfield and you've got to, maybe you double switch, maybe you just pinch run him and you put Diaz out there. But I don't see Jose Siri doing much outside of pinch hitting role and running role. And someone else may say differently, but that's just how I see him. Does he have potential to be more and be better? I think so. And yes, like I mentioned before, Yimi Garcia has been sharp. He's been fine. He's looked really good this series. The relief pitchers, guys and girls, have not been the ones to lose this. It's been the starters. I mean, let's just call it what it is. Lance McCullers out. What was the key phrase? With Lance McCullers out, the starters have to go the distance. The starters have to last 5, 6, 7 innings. Even 5 innings. Right now, I just want 5 solid innings. It doesn't have to be shutout ball. 1 runs, 2 runs. You can do that. I mean, they went up the other day in game 1. They were up 3-1. They had momentum. The Astros took it back, and they won. But today, someone mentioned, and I don't know who it was. Someone on Twitter said, I think it's in a DM group that I'm in, and they said, "Oh, well, the crowd was never into it." Well, yeah, because it's hard to get into a game where they give up a grand slam in the first 2 innings. And then if you think the fans are feeling, imagine what the players are feeling. And someone's like, well, but they had a late night. And that was tough on them and their emotions. And maybe they were tired. Well, the Red Sox weren't tired. The Red Sox hit 2 grand slams. What's your excuse? This is the playoffs. We don't have excuses. Excuses are like noses. Everybody's got one. There's another part of the body used for that phrase, but I don't want to use it on here. But that's what I'm saying. Quit making excuses. I guarantee Carlos Correa doesn't make excuses. I guarantee Jose Altuve doesn't make excuses. The pitchers don't make excuses. They take responsibility. Don't make excuses for them. They don't need it. They are the better team. They're not worried. They're not panicking. The worrisome sign I see on the outside looking in is, do I have a starter on this roster that can give me 5 innings? 5 innings, 3 hit ball, 1 run. That's all I'm asking. I'm not even asking for a shutout. I don't even care if you get a lot of strikeouts. I just want to see a pitcher get through 5 innings. And the bottom line is, if you do, then you take back command of this. If you take game 3, you take back command of this series. The Red Sox have all the pressure on them because they're at home. And if they lose game 3, all the pressure's on them. All the pressure's on them. Because then they've got to win 2 in a row and then come back to Houston and clinch. There's no way they clinch in Houston. And like Larry says here, I love Larry's input here. If you manage the matchups and stay away from the bad platoon splits, the pitchers can succeed. Exactly. And what was the biggest concern going into this series? Was it the hitting? No. Was it the starting pitchers? No. It was the relief pitching. And what has been the key, I say this after they give up 9 runs, what is the key to them limiting the runs? The relief pitchers. In the middle innings, it's the relief pitchers, not the starters. The hitters have done their part in stages. Correa, amazing game. Jose Altuve. And let me say this. I want to send a shout out to a friend that I met, Ray Lopez. Ray Lopez caught Jose Altuve's 20th postseason home run. He passed George Springer and tied Derek Jeter all time for postseason home runs. Ray Lopez caught the ball. Get this, his son caught the Kike Hernandez home run, solo shot in the first inning, threw it back on the field. One of the attendants said, hey, since you threw that back, I'll get you an ALCS ball. So they gave him an ALCS game ball for throwing back. His dad then was up around the Crawford boxes and just standing right there in the aisle. The ball happened to come up when he stood there. He took 2 steps and he caught the ball. He showed me the ball. And one of the attendants is an old coach of mine. He tried to get a hold of the Astros, and the Astros kind of expressed like they didn't really want to know. They didn't really want the ball. So I contacted someone I know who has connections with the team, and I said, hey, find out if Jose Altuve wants the 20th home run ball that he hit. He sent me back a text within like 10 minutes. Jose Altuve wants the ball. I gave them Ray Lopez's number, and it is my understanding that Jose Altuve is going to be getting in contact with Mr. Ray here and going to get the baseball from him. He wanted to give it to Jose Altuve. I just thought that was really cool. And so I just wanted to share that story with y'all. So Ray, I'm just trying to get it out there more about Jose Altuve getting the ball back that you caught. So let's hope that he does that. Now, Ray Lopez, David Odom said, Ray Lopez, I'll trade you my wife for the ball. Actually, someone offered him $200 for it. And I said, you better not give it that ball. You better give that to Jose Altuve. So yeah, that was a really cool story. I just happened to talk to him. And hey, who knows? Maybe he's listening to the podcast. And if you're a new listener, we want you to make us your first listen every day. Whether you get in your car and you're driving to work, go to your smart device, tell it play the podcast, Locked on Astros. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Evaldi was not unhittable. Evaldi was not all world today, but the Astros just could not put the bat on the ball. Mr. Nola, I too am worried a little bit about our pitching, not our relief pitching, but our starting pitching. So boys and girls, It's 29:52 into this podcast, this solo edition. Eric the Man Heisman was at the game today. I hate that he went to the game and they lost, but nonetheless, I know he did have some fun. He was behind some Boston fans. We'll have to find out how that went. This week, I'm not going to say who it is because I'm not into jinxes, but tomorrow night we may have a special guest. Later this week, we will have a returning guest, superstar guest of ours, and it should be a fun week to watch the Houston Astros clinch the American League Championship Series and go to a third World Series in the last 4 years. So that is all for us here at Locked on Astros. I'm Htown Wheelhouse. It's only one game, folks. You know me, always positive, always Stros. Y'all hang in there, share with your friends, let them know about the show, give us a like, and y'all have a good one. And as always, go Astros.